Welcome to the My Inner Tiger podcast. I'm your host, Sydney D. Camella. I'm also a wife, mother, master life coach, course creator, and spiritual Sherpa. Over the past few years, I have overcome extreme anxiety, depression, addiction, infertility, and chronic illness. And as a result, I've made it my life's mission to teach other women like you that no matter what battle you're up against, you have an inner tiger, a power within to create and manifest whatever your heart desires. If you are tired of being a victim and ready to be boss of your life, you have come to the right place. Each episode, I'm going to share tools, teachings, and techniques I have used and taught countless other women so that together we can create a life beyond our wildest dreams. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your inner tiger is just waiting to be unleashed. I'm so happy you've tuned in. Let's get started. Today's guest is just pure awesomeness, you guys. Her name is Carlson, and she is a high energy expert, high performance coach, human design specialist, masculine and feminine expert and speaker. She is a breathwork instructor and the founder of HEAL, which stands for High Energy Abundant Living. Her name is Carlson, brings a unique perspective on how to leverage your own energy to heal physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. By leveraging non-traditional modalities, she takes people on a journey of transformation from the inside out. When you're ready to heal from a high energetic place, you create even more abundance in your life. That's her motto. So I am so excited to share this episode with you where we talk everything energy, right? So everything we do and everything we are is made up of energy. And so Katie dives way into all the different ways to basically hack your energy to create a life where you're happier, you have a greater sense of well-being, you're more energized, you're just living at a higher vibrational frequency, okay? So it's a really great episode. I'm so excited. You're gonna have so many different takeaways and notes. And so get on a pen and paper if you're in a place where you can do that, and enjoy this episode. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the My Inner Tiger podcast. As usual, I always say I'm excited, but I'm so super pumped about today's guest, which is Carlson, the beautiful Carlson. Katie, thank you so much for being here.
Aw, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and having this conversation. You know, I love you. I love this podcast, and I'm excited to talk all things energy today.
Yay. Well, I love you too. So let me tell you guys a little bit about how I know Katie, just so you understand our background. I went to life coaching school back in 2018, and I went to a school called IPEC, and Katie went to the same school. But she went to the one that was based out of Chicago, I think, right, Katie?
Yes. Yeah. I was in Chicago.
She was based out of Chicago, and I traveled to Miami to go to our school. So it's almost like, almost a year-long program. And we met through actually like a couple different side deals. Gosh, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, we were in one training group together, and I really liked your energy. And I was like, oh my God, who is that girl? And she went to IPEC. That's awesome. And then all of a sudden, randomly, we were in this Facebook Live challenge group together. And I was like, oh, that's the girl from the group in the IPEC. And anyway, and even funnier is that you were always wearing the green and white striped sweater, which you were actually wearing today. Isn't that hysterical?
I love my stripes and puffy vests. I have to say.
Oh my God, I love it. So anyway, I recognized her from the sweater and just her energy and her beautiful face. So we have been friends ever since. We always have amazing conversations. We talk probably every few months, just catching up, and we're in lots of the same kind of stuff together. We're both coaches. We both have podcasts. We both love healing. We both love health, all kinds of things in common. So we've just become great friends. And I've wanted to bring her on this podcast because, like I said before, her energy is absolutely contagious. Like, I mean, she's known as like the energy hacker or whatever, or something like that. But as you'll see, as she talks more, she's just such a bright, light, a special soul, and she has so much to give to this world. So I know that she's done a lot with like hacking your energy, like lots of programs and events and stuff like that. So I just wanted to talk about energy hacking. So Katie,
Yes.
let's start by telling us all how you got into the world of energy, like a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. I'm so energized to be here and I love talking all things energy. So this is going to be a great conversation. And I'm excited to hear what your listeners think about it too. So energy, how did I get into this? I think it's really important to talk a little bit kind of like about my backstory. So, without going into like too many details around it, I had been in the healthcare sector for basically 10, probably 11, almost 12 years, in some sort of capacity. I was doing sales. I was working with a lot of physicians and doctors and executive level professionals on implementing different strategies, whether that be with products or technology. I had a lot of different pathways there. And one thing that I realized is that as I was, going through the motions in life, I was finding myself incredibly burnout, incredibly exhausted. I overextended myself. I was burning the candle from both ends, as they say. And I never really felt fulfilled. And I was like, what is this all about? And I think, a lot of times when people get into their, for me, it was like my early 30s, early to mid 30s, I realized like there's got to be something more to this life, right? There has to be more to this life rather than just like, going through the motions, getting a job, getting married, having the kids, all that kind of stuff, which I think are wonderful things, right? But I started asking questions, and I'm a big believer that, when you ask better questions, you get better answers. And so I went through kind of my own dark night of the soul back in 2015. Went through a soul crushing breakup that really, I did everything I possibly could to not take a look at what was going on inside of me. Right. I was focusing so much on the external world that I literally crushed my own spirit. And in doing that, I went through my dark night of the soul. And as a product of that, I came out. I got into therapy. I started meditating. I started doing the work. I started understanding myself, getting to know who I was. Who is this Katie Carlson person? Right? What am I here to do? What am I here to bring to this world? And as I continued down that path, I realized that there were a lot of things in my my perceptual world, right? The world that I had lived in, and I was living in Kansas City at the time, was not my design. Like I was not in alignment with it. And so I ended up moving to Chicago. I got back into healthcare for a short stint because here's the kind of the truth about me. I believe that we're all healing in some sort of capacity in any, regardless of who you are, where you are on the journey, right? It's not that we're like some people are ahead or below or, in between us. It has nothing to do with that. We're all healing in some sort of capacity, whether that means emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, physically. There's so many different ways. And so one of the key factors around this is I've been in the healthcare space. And one of the reasons why I've always tried to stay physically healthy is because I've seen how the healthcare system works on many different facets. And because of that, I got really curious of like, okay, how can I take radical responsibility for how I'm showing up energetically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of that. How can I take radical responsibility over that? And so I got curious. And through the synchrodestiny moments of my life, I had a dear friend of mine come to me because she was like, you're always so positive. You have so much energy and this, that, and the other. And I was like, do I? Like, I just think I let go a lot of the baggage. I let go a lot of the BS in my life. And I started living the life on my terms, right? I had zero boundaries before this. I read the book Boundaries, which, and little caveat, anybody that hasn't read this book, Boundaries, I think it's an incredible book to definitely check out by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. Townsend. Wonderful, wonderful book. But in reading that book, I realized that there's so much more to life that I was excited to learn. And it all started with energy. And so that actually is what led me to IPEC. A good friend of mine was like, gosh, you're so inspirational. Like, you should really start helping people. And I was like, yeah, well, I love helping people. I love serving people. But I didn't necessarily want to become a therapist. And so she's like, well, come, but like, look into life coaching. And I was like, what? Like, what the heck is life coaching? And I was like, I was an athlete back in the day, but I don't really understand what life coaching is. And then I just started Googling life coaching, and lo and behold, IPEC showed up. And that was really the start of my journey of understanding energy and how to play with energy and how to embrace energy so that it works for me in this life. Because I'm a big believer, right? Life is always happening for us, not to us, even in the dark times, right? Even in the low points. There's lessons to be learned. And so in that process, I just started getting really curious and became a coach and got into biohacking and really understanding the energetic frequency of the things and the things that we can do to support that in our life. The things that we can do to support that energy, in our life. And really it's about finding alignment within yourself, because we're all different in a lot of different capacities in a lot of different ways. And so by getting curious, I started to understand the energies that were showing up in my physical body, the masculine energies, the feminine energies, how I was leveraging them in relationship, with myself and with others. I started getting into human design. And for those of you that are not familiar with human design, it's an incredible tool to learn and to access how our energy shows up based on our conditioning, based on our genetic predisposition, in which the time and place in which we were born. So a lot of times you're like, wait, what does that mean? So if you know if you have your birthday, right, and the place and the time in which you were born, anybody can pull a human design chart. And it's a great tool to understand how you're genetically dispositioned to show up in this life, as well as align your energies. And I know that you're very familiar with this, Sydney, with the Energy Leadership Index. I love leveraging both of those, human design and the Energy Leadership Index assessment, to help people really align their energy in a way that makes sense for them. I don't know if that makes sense. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar or if you've talked about the Energy Leadership Index. Have you talked about it on your podcast before?
No, I have not, actually.
Okay.
And so this is all so great. I want to take it to bare bones basics here, just for anyone, in case they don't know what exactly you mean when you talk about energy. So some people might be thinking, oh, energy, like, I just drank coffee, so I have a lot of energy. What do you mean when you say energy?
Yes. So when I say energy, so everything is energy. So this computer, this microphone, this book that's in front of me, this water that's in front of me, everything around us is energy. And everything, the space in between our objects in our home, or where we are, everything is energy, and everything within this space carries an energetic frequency. Okay. Everything has an energetic frequency. And because of that, and if you're familiar with some of the sayings, like, we're the average of the 5 people. I like to say, like, we're the average of the 5 people and the things that we spend the most time with. Right. So if we are, spending time in lower energetic frequencies, right, with low energetic things in our environment, right, lots of technology or things that maybe deplete our energy at times, we can lower our overall vibrational frequency. And everything is energy. So the energy that we are putting out into the world is the energy that we are attracting into our lives. And a lot of times when people, are thinking about, like, oh my gosh, like, I just don't feel that great, or I feel off, and, this, that, and the other. A lot of times people will be like, they'll want to blame someone else, or you could take radical responsibility and be like, why am I feeling this way? And a lot of times the lower vibrational frequencies that end up in our vortex, they're not even ours, right? Especially if you're a female. If you're a female, good chances that you're very empathic. So you might be taking on a lot of other people's energies. And when we do that, we can find ourselves in, like, lower vibrational states. So I've really taken on as, like, a life mission of mine of understanding the energies of my environment, the energies that are going on within me. And here's the thing. It doesn't mean that I don't have days where I'm like super low and like, I maybe just, I don't feel like showing up right for myself or others, or there might be things that are just passing through me, and that's okay. It's just having the awareness and the wherewithal of like understanding that we can take radical responsibility of how we're showing up. And there's ways to hack our energy. And I do that on a daily basis. So a lot of times people will come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, how do you have so much energy? Right. Well, I've gotten really clear on my values. I've gotten really clear on, how I create a space in my home, and wherever I am, to raise the vibrational energy, connecting with high vibing people, right? And also aligning with who I am and what I'm here to do, which kind of goes back to the human design piece and the energy leadership index is like, you got to know where you are, right? You got to have a baseline of where you are today. And then based on where you are and your values, your perceptions, your models of the world, you'll start to see different bursts of, or sparks of energy where you can start to align yourself into higher energetic states. I literally just got home from an event that I was supporting and I spoke at called Resonance. And that was the whole purpose of it. It was called Resonance, right? Resonating at a higher frequency. When you can start to change your energetic frequency, you can start to like attract more of what you desire in your life. And I choose the word desire as opposed to want, because if you're familiar or if you've heard of anything, if you've seen any of my content or anything that I've done out there in the past, language matters. And the language actually sets the tone. Intention and language sets the tone of where our energy takes lift, like where our energy takes flight into who we're going to be as we show up throughout the day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I can go on and on about language if you want me to, but I'm happy just to like share a little bit of the things that I do that can help people hack their energy in different ways. So first and foremost, a lot of like today and age, right? A lot of our culture, we're on our computers, right? A lot of people are working from home and they're very sedentary. Like one of the biggest things that you can do to hack your energy is just get moving, right? Get moving. Take intentional breaks throughout your day or get a rebounder. I have a rebounder and I literally will jump on my rebounder like in the middle of Zoom calls to get my energy up and get myself in a place where I'm in a higher energetic state and I'm in a higher place because when you're in these higher states, you make better decisions, right? And also your body language, is such a key indicator of how you're showing up energetically and what you're also going to attract in your life. So when we allow for a normal energetic, like when we allow ourselves to move, right? And we're like, whether that's through working out, whether that's through jumping on your rebounder, right? You're allowing the natural process of energy to move throughout the physical body. When we get our body moving, right? And we allow that energy to move through us, our energy doesn't stay stuck. When we feel down or we feel lower energy, it's because oftentimes our energy is stuck somewhere in our physical body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So because I can just go on and all about this.
I love it.
So
keep going.
Getting your body moving, having this movement. And so feel free to interrupt me because I can, and if you have any questions, like I'm happy to go in deeper of these things. But when you get your body moving, you get your blood pumping, right? And you allow those cells to naturally turn over. It also helps with your lymphatic system. You guys, our lymphatic system goes to work to detox our cells overnight. So when we go into deep sleep, right? When we go into deep sleep at night, our body detoxifies, like promotes that lymph moving throughout our body. And by doing that, we have to have proper circulation and blood flow. And so by moving, throughout the day and not just being sedentary really helps that like active, like being able to hack your energy. Guys, there are times when I'll like literally just set an alarm like in between calls and I'll do like a 5-minute dance party where I will literally just dance around my house by myself or with my dog. And I'll play some music that just gets my energy up. These are ways in which you can hack your energy. It sounds really simplistic and easy, but the thing is you got to do it. Most people don't always do it. So you just got to do it and like be really intentional about that. Some other ways I hack my energy. And so I mentioned sleep, right? Like sleep is such a big component. And here's the thing. everybody needs varying degrees of sleep. And I used to say, like, in my 20s, like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Because I would just burn the candle from both ends. I'd burn the candle from both ends, and then I'd end up sick, and my adrenals would be shot, and I mean, I would just be a mess. And then I realized, no, sleep is actually really, really important. Well, it's also important to understand what kind of quality, or like what kind of sleep you're getting. So I actually wear an Aura ring. And for those of you that are interested, it's OURA. I do not make any money from them. I am not an affiliate for them. They don't have affiliates. I do not make any money from them at all. This is just me because I like to track, and if you can't measure certain things, you can't manage things, right? So I like to measure where my energy is throughout the day, throughout the evening, throughout the night when I sleep. So I have an Aura ring that tracks my activity throughout the day. It's different than a Fitbit or an Apple Watch because it actually tracks. I wear it as a ring. It's on my middle finger on my left hand. And it tracks my heart rate variability. It tracks my temperature. It tracks what kind of sleep cycles I go in. So I know every night, when I'm sleeping or the next day, I know how much deep sleep I got, as well as how much REM sleep I got, as well as how much light sleep I got. And I'll tell you, I'm a very, very good deep sleeper. And a lot of times that's a lot of what people struggle with. Not even say a lot, but I would say, in my experience, people oftentimes have a hard time that have, challenges with sleep. They have a hard time getting to deep sleep. Well, deep sleep is like, I am the queen of deep sleeping, but REM sleep has been a little bit of a challenge or an opportunity for me to grow through. And I've been able to do that through my Aura ring and trying on these different things like meditating before bed and, making sure I'm doing like, an hour of meditation in the morning and different things of that nature. Also, I use red light therapy, right? I use red light therapy to support my sleep cycles as well. We're talking about sleep, but there's a lot of other things that red light therapy can do to support your overall energy. Because red light therapy, infrared, near red, far red, that red light therapy actually helps also with cellular detoxification, cellular rejuvenation, as well as can support inflammation in the body. So like if you've been working out and maybe like your knee starts to like get inflamed and you're not really sure why, like I'll shine red light on my knee for like 20 minutes and I'll see like the inflammation go down.
Oh my gosh, I need that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, and I love it. So I actually travel with my red light. People always laugh and joke, like always laugh at me because I literally bring my red light to hotels and, my Airbnbs and whatever. And if you're sharing a room with me, you better get used to the red light because the red light turns on at about 8:30 at night, depending on where I am, what time zone I'm in. And it helps with my melatonin production. And it helps with the natural rhythms of nature, right? Our natural circadian rhythms, like winding our brain down. What a lot of people face now, because we're constantly on technology, right? On our computers, on devices and that sort of thing. We're seeing so much blue light that blue light suppresses our melatonin secretion creation that happens in our brain. And melatonin is one of the most powerful chemicals that we produce naturally as human beings. There is so much magic in melatonin, and in the essence of time, I can't go into all the nitty-gritty details. But one thing I will tell you is that melatonin is also one of the best anti-inflammatories for inflammation. So like when you're sick, it's really, really great to take melatonin. So when I had the creature 2.0, meaning the beer virus, right? 2.0, I was taking 20 milligrams of melatonin a night. And actually in doing that, because I was able to track my sleep, it actually also supported my REM sleep. And my REM sleep has been on point literally for the last month. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact I've been very intentional with turning off my devices after 7 p.m. at night. As soon as the sun goes down here, I've also been really intentional about not using light at all. I'll just light candles to allow my body to naturally go through the process of, that it's meant to do, right? To cycle through my detoxification process, moving through the lymphatic system, and not being shocked. Because when we have so much blue light that's coming at us, our body was like, oh, we need to produce more serotonin, and we're going to be awake now. Because what happens is at night, our body will naturally create melatonin as it's time to wind down, as the sun goes down, as we start to experience darkness. Our body is going to naturally want us to start shutting things down to prepare for sleep, because it's when we're in sleep and we're in deep sleep, our body is not asleep, right? Our body has gone to work, because it naturally, our autonomic nervous system naturally begins to detoxify and move through the natural cycles that allow our bodies to be at our optimal, state. But if we're not shutting things down and getting enough sleep, or, our deep sleep or our REM sleep's not long enough, then we're going to wake up with brain fog. Like, I mean, how often do you wake up with brain fog or feel a little foggy or a little groggy in the morning? A lot of times it's because you either haven't had enough deep sleep, or maybe your REM sleep's off. Like, there's a lot of different things, that can attribute to that. But the melatonin production is super, super critical in helping us from a sleep perspective, because when that melatonin kicks in, our body starts to prepare ourselves for sleep. And then in the morning, right, when the light starts to come in, or, you have an alarm clock or whatever, when that light first hits our eyes, it hits that center, the pineal gland in our brain, and then our body starts to create serotonin. So I heard this a while ago, and it's really funny. Melatonin puts us to bed, and Sarah wakes us up. Serotonin wakes us up. So it's kind of a fun way to understand brain chemistry, but understanding that it's a really powerful tool. And so if you can't manage it, or if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So I love my Aura Ring for doing that, to also promote my sleep, as well as the red light therapy. And I'm happy to send you links for the ones that I use if you're interested. And if any of the listeners want to know more about it, I'm happy to share the links for you guys to learn more about that.
Yeah, I will definitely put those in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. So then the other piece, one of the things I always say is water. What does your water intake look like? Right? Another way to hack your energy. If you're starting to feel sluggish and you've been on meetings all day, or maybe you've been staring in front of your computer and you're feeling sluggish, what's your water intake look like? You guys, I mean, I'm making a conscious effort as of the last couple of weeks to drink a gallon of water a day. Now, here's the thing. Drinking a gallon of water a day for someone that's 110 pounds is probably not ideal. For someone that is, 150 or 200 or, wherever you are, a gallon of water is okay. And because if you're familiar with 75 hard, I know a lot of people have been doing the 75 hard, physical challenge, which I think is a great challenge. I have not done it myself. But I'm starting to kind of take on some of these things just to kind of experiment. So one thing about me is I'm always about experimenting and trying on new things. I'm just a natural, curious learner. I love learning and learning about new informations of how to support myself as well as how I can support others. And so by just having this natural curiosity, I try on different things. So I've been trying this, if I drink a gallon of water a day, how do I feel? How does this, show up, whatever. The thing is that you want to be mindful of is when you're drinking that much water in a day, you can deplete your system of electrolytes, and we need electrolytes to function, to survive, to thrive. I use specific electrolytes every day. I absolutely love them. And that, think about it, electrolytes, it helps with the electricity in our body. Electricity in our body is energy, right? So it's really important to have electrolytes. So I'm really conscious about having electrolytes. I use this brand. Again, don't make anything off of it, but I do have a link that I can send you that you can get some bonus product. Again, I don't make money from it, but it's called Element. It's LMNT. And what I like about these guys is that it was these high performance athletes that were really looking to get more out of their performance, their athleticism, their recovery, all that kind of stuff. And what they realized is that they were super, super depleted in their sodium. And what happens when we drink an obscene amount of water, right? If you're doing 75 hard, is that you may not be replenishing with the electrolytes that you need. And these electrolytes help you have the energy that you need to have that electricity in your body, that energy in your body, to really show up at your best. And so, I use electrolytes daily, but again, changing state, water, like drink some water. Anytime I'm feeling like a little bit down, I think about, oh, how much water have I been drinking today? I think a great rule of thumb is that take your weight, however much you weigh. If you weigh 150 pounds, you need to be at least drinking 75 ounces of water a day. So take whatever your weight is, divide it in half, and that's the amount of ounces you should be drinking a day, if not more, but in water, especially because hydration, we're naturally, especially depending on where you live. Like if you live in the mountains and you're in altitude, you're going to be in drier climates. Your body may not retain as much water. And so it's super, super important to create that hydration within yourself. What are the other? So some of the other things I do, meditation. Meditation is a game changer for me. It has been such and I do a lot of different types of meditation. For those of you that are familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, his meditations are definitely a learning curve. It's very different, but his whole process and methodology around meditation and why you meditate a certain way is really, really powerful. If you're not familiar with Joe Dispenza's meditations, you can find some of them on YouTube. And you may be like, oh my God, this is so hard to get into, because he's like in space and he has this crazy voice.
It's true.
And it is very true. And once you really get into his work, I highly recommend reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's a great book. It's one of his earlier books that he did, but it really explains and outlines how we get to be where we are, based on the thoughts that we think and how we show up in this energetic world and in this energetic body, and how we can support ourselves. And through meditation, and through what's called open focus, that's how he really goes through, meditation, because I think the more that you silence your mind and you allow yourself to be connected to source energy, God, spirit, whatever you believe in, or your higher self, whatever that is for you, meditation really allows that divinity to come through, which again raises your vibrational energy. So meditation is huge. Master Co. I love Master Co. He has a different way of meditating. Just as equal as Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I know there's many different meditation modalities out there. Highly, highly, highly recommend. If you're not familiar with meditation or any of those practices, I'm sure a lot of people that listen to you probably meditate. But I've always been really curious about all the different practices around meditation, and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Master Co. are literally some of my favorite meditation guides that I definitely look up to and leverage through my meditation practice. A couple other things that I do, to hack my energy is I am really cautious. I wouldn't say cautious. I'm very selective when it comes to what I put in my body. We are what we eat, and food can be medicine or it can be poison. And that's the same thing as water. Water can be medicine or it can be poison if you drink too much of it. And so really understanding what that is for people, I think is super, super important. I was just explaining to you, Sydney, just before we started recording, and I just got some blood work back. And if you looked at me, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, she seems really healthy. She's got a lot, she has a lot of energy, this, that, and the other. We also don't know what's going on under the hood. And we all have genetic dispositions, that could activate, certain conditions in our body that can be very easily managed over time. I do. I have an overabundance of iron in my body right now. And when I was tested a year and a half ago, it wasn't there. But I tested again. It's been kind of a whirlwind year for, I know, a lot of different people. And we're in kind of some crazy times right now. And so I was just I want to get curious. I want to know where I'm at again, and let's just see. And my iron levels have just shot through the roof. And I've changed a little bit in my supplementation. I've changed a little bit of my diet. And in doing that, now I have an awareness of it, and now I can make the changes, right? Again, it goes back to what you can measure, you can manage. So really finding a baseline, I think, and understanding how you're showing up, just biologically is super, super important. So working with like a functional medicine doctor or someone that's in health advocacy, I think is always super, super important. But again, taking radical responsibility of yourself, I think is the end all be all. So that's how, if you can start taking radical responsibility for yourself and mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you will start to see your energy change in your life because you're not a victim to anything else or anyone.
Yes. So I want to jump in real quick. And as I'm listening to you, I'm writing down and taking notes, and I'm realizing something that I always come back to. And it's, how we're always on this search for like the answer, right? Like, what is the one answer that's going to dramatically change my life? And it always comes back down to the basics. It's really just the, starting with baby steps. I mean, this is what I talk about a lot in my podcast is like, and, other guests talk about as well. And you'll see the pattern, the more people you talk to, the more you start to see the patterns that it's really getting to the basics. It's making a decision, taking that radical responsibility for yourself, making a commitment to say each day I'm going to do this one new little thing. And then this one new little thing, it doesn't happen overnight. Today, I'm going to drink more water. Then I'm going to get in the habit of doing that. It's changing your habits, right? Moving your body, getting up from your computer. I mean, it's the simple stuff, turning off your blue lights and going to bed earlier and getting, it's the simple, things that your grandma told you to do. Eat your fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And it really all comes down to that. And we think it's so complicated. The reason we think it's so complicated is because of the way our world works today. Our world is so fast. It's like we're constantly bombarded with, media and sales pitches and advertisements, and, our brains are just being pulled in all different directions. We got 5G coming at us like with a force. We've got, all this crazy, to-do lists that just are so huge and big, and we take on all these responsibilities. We got phones that ring every 2 seconds that we're addicted to, right? And so the big picture here, the big aha is just, you have to take radical responsibility to slow down. You have to actually push back. In the olden days, it wasn't as much of a pushback. A big pushback like this was not as much required to find your Zen, to find your peace, to find your center, right? We have just so much resistance today with everything coming at us, but it's taking, like, I love this radical responsibility. It's going to be my new favorite thing to say. Taking that radical responsibility to just baby steps every single day. And that, folks, that is your answer. That is the answer to what you are looking for. I promise. And I'm speaking to everyone out there because I was you. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm doing all this. That's why Katie's doing all this. We've been there. Yeah. We've been in the darkest of the depths of the pits of hell, right? I mean, Katie's story, she didn't even get into her full story, which I know about. But she was ready to cash.
I'm happy to share it if you want.
I would love for you to share that story. Please do.
Yeah. So so back in 2015, when I mentioned I was, kind of going through my dark night of the soul, I went through a soul crushing breakup, and it was one of those breakups that, like, I was yearning for the ability for him to, like, just be a bad person or to treat me horrible or whatever. But it was a timing thing, and it didn't work out. And, it crushed me on levels that I didn't even know existed, because I didn't think I had such certainty in my heart. Story for another time, but I will say all that because I was so focused on everything outside of me, what I was meant to do, what I'm supposed to do, this, that, and the other. And I wasn't living a life for myself. I left a really good job and got sold on an opportunity, and it ended up not going well. A lot of things happened. And I basically was like, you know what? I'm taking time off. I hadn't taken time off in like 6 years. I was like, I'm just going to take some time off. So I ended up quitting my job, and I just started traveling. And traveling is a great way to get to know yourself. It's also a great way to avoid dealing with yourself in certain ways if you're not conscious. And I was not conscious then. And I traveled around the world, spent some time in Italy and Spain, rode the Royal Wave to the World Series back in 2015. And when I came back to Kansas City, I came back to my house and I didn't have a job. My boyfriend was gone. And if anybody is from the Midwest and you know what it's like in November in the Midwest, it is gray, it is dark, it is and I need sun. I've noticed that I need sun. It was a very, very dark time for me. I had isolated myself so much because I felt like I was a burden to people. I was very, very depressed, but I wouldn't have called it depression because I had too much of an ego. I've been like, no, I'm not depressed. Like, I can get through this. I can fight through this because I'm a warrior. I can do this. But I had to surrender to who I was, who I had become. And I realized that I didn't love myself. And so in the process of that, I was I was isolating myself. I ended up talking to one of my neighbors. We kind of ran in different circles, but she was a neighbor. She kind of knew what was going on in my world. And she's like, I really think you should talk to someone. And I was like, yeah, I'd been in therapy back in the day. Like, I don't know. She's like, well, no, there's this gal. Her name's Jan. She's really amazing. Like, she's kind of holistic in nature. She's from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there might be something there. And I was like, okay, I'll try. Well, I called Jan and I left her a message and I didn't hear back from her for like 4 days. And I was like, man, I can't even get a therapist to call me back. And I was just in a really low place. And I had enough. Like I was done. And so I went to get into my car and the garage door was down. I turned the key. And as soon as I did that, the phone rang and it was Jan. And I was ready to end it all. Like I was done. I didn't want to live. And for those of you that maybe have not had like, a divine intervention or experienced some sort of grace, which I'm sure you have, it's just like thinking about it. That was grace. There was something bigger than myself that knew that I needed to be here. I didn't know what it was. But when Jan called, I was like, I broke down in tears and she's like, when can you come in? And I was like, no. But that started this trajectory for me because I realized that I had to get out of my own way. I was so focused on making everyone else happy that I bent so far over backwards that I broke my own back. I had zero boundaries. I was incredibly codependent. And because of that, I had to start to take radical responsibility for myself. I looked at everything else in my life prior to this time, like as it was all happening to me. I look at it now as that it all happened for me, right? Everything that I went through, the heartache, the pain, the suffering, all of that. I got to go through that. I had that experience so that I can now help people that are in that place. I've been to that place and it is dark and it is scary and it is lonely and it is not fun. It is not easy to necessarily reach out to people. And I will tell you, if you can just harness the courage just to talk to someone and like just allow yourself to get out of your way for a split second, you will literally, you never know, you'll change your life. You'll change that trajectory of your life. And that's what happened to me. And that's why I got curious, and people look at me now and people, when they hear that story, they're like, what? Like people would never think that.
You would never think that. Because this is just audio, but like if you saw Katie, she's absolutely stunning. She's full of life and energy. Like, you're just like, what, and yeah. I totally get it. I've been in the same boat as you too. So I totally get it. And what I also, and first of all, thank you for sharing that. What I also want to add here to, I said a minute ago, it all comes down to the bare basics, but another part of the real deep emotional work that gets the healing done is sitting with yourself and getting to know yourself. You've mentioned that a couple of times, and that's come up in patterns and other podcasts as well, as just sitting with yourself. We don't know who we are until we take the time to get to know ourselves, and getting still and getting quiet is the first step in doing that. So that's just beautiful.
Yeah. It's true. And I think, the more that we can get to know ourselves and start to identify like, who am I? Right. Like, and ask questions, guys. You ask better questions, you get better answers. And that's part of the reason why I leverage human design, because we all have different ways, and especially in human design. And again, I don't want to like, because I could go for hours on human design, and I'll save that for another time. But if you're interested, definitely reach out. But not but and if you're if you're interested, we all have a way of making decisions. And I realized the more I started investigating and getting into human design, I was not making decisions with my authority. And we all have different authorities, and once you get to know your authority and how you make decisions and what you value and where your energy shows up, where you are like lit up by life, because the things that light you up in life are not, it's not an accident, they're by design. The things that light you up, you're meant to follow. And a lot of times we don't follow because our head gets in the way, right? We get so far in our heads, we get so, pigeonholed into thinking one way about our life and what it's going to be. And when we actually break it down, we are the creators of our own destiny. And again, it goes back to taking radical responsibility for who you are. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your sister's fault. It's not your husband's fault. It's not your boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, it's not their fault. It's not your kid's fault. It's no one. Take radical responsibility for you. Take back your power. Anytime we blame someone else, we give them their power. Like, we give away our power. And at the same time, when we blame ourselves, we can get, that can be a nasty little circle too. So it's about giving yourself grace. So guys, when I start to feel like my energy is dropping, that I'm taking on too much, I will literally, like, there's a lot of things I'll do, but I'll burn some sage, I'll light some candles, I'll go take a salt bath. Salt baths are incredible ways of clearing out your energy. So if you've been in contact, or if you've been in a workplace and you've been, with a lot of different people, a lot of different times that have lots of different energies, you could have also be taking them on. One thing that I love to do, and, I offer this up to you guys, is check in with yourself. This is also how to get to know yourself. Close your eyes, and if you're feeling lower energy, and ask yourself, is this my energy? And you will get a direct answer. It may not come automatically. You have to do it. It's like anything else. You got to build a muscle to like feel this, right? To like get to know yourself and your body and like how you respond. Ask yourself, is this mine? And if it's not, you say return to sender with consciousness attached, and watch how your energy will lift.
Yep. I do that all the time.
It is magic.
One thing I learned from you, actually.
Yeah. It's a great tool. Yeah. And then the other thing, like I say, is salt baths. Like, grab some pink Himalayan salt. You guys can go to I don't know if anybody loves Home Goods out there. It's like literally like one of my favorite places in the whole entire world. But Home Goods has great buys on bulk pink Himalayan salt. And so I will literally go in and I'll have a bath, and I'll turn on some like nice relaxing music, and I'll just allow what needs to be released to be released, because a lot of times we shove down the energy. I don't know about any of you guys out there, but like, I used to avoid a lot of my feelings and emotions because they're not bad. They're just energy, just trying to make its way through the body. And if we stop it, that's when we get stuck and we get frustrated and we get angry and we go through these lower level of energetic vibrations. And if we just allow ourselves to be present with it, sit with it, and that, because nothing is forever, right? Things change. Things are constantly changing. But when we allow ourselves to be present with it, sit with the uncomfortable feeling, or sit with it, or allow ourselves to cry. Guys, I just the other day, and I was telling Sydney this, I haven't cried like that and I don't even know how long, but it was Monday night. I just bawled my eyes out. And I was in a room of 1,500 other people. And I just cried and cried and cried and cried. It's just energy trying to make its way through the body. It was energy that I had suppressed. When we cry, when we laugh, when we, work out, when we sweat, when we do breath work, all of this, it's just energy. It's a pathway for our energy to move up and out. And when we give ourselves the gift of those pathways of moving that energy, we find ourselves. We find that wholeness. We find that place where we can love and accept ourselves just for who we are. It's not about being perfect. There is no perfection, right? It's great to have goals and shoot for things and this, that, and the other. How would your life be different if you just loved and accepted yourself? And I can offer you up all these energy hacks, different tools and things that you can do. Yes, there are physical things that you can do to hack your energy, red light therapy and, grounding with, hugging a tree, or, I have a Q-link. I wear a Q-link that supports, neutralizing the negative ion energies that come into my existence. And yes, that does help my energy. And at the same time, you have to do the work. You got to get curious. You got to go inside, see what's going on, and be graceful in the process. Love yourself in the process. Forgive yourself in the process, because the mind, if it can do its way with you, it will. And so it's really important to be mindful and get to know yourself at who you are at the core, not of who everybody expects or projects you to be, but get to know you. And I guarantee you'll fall in love with it.
Love it. I have one last question for you, because I know we've been on here a little bit. How do you protect your energy every day?
I love this. So it's funny when we talk about protection, because I do look at it as we're all energetic beings. And when we interact with other people, other things in our environment, our energy can ebb and flow. And so there's a couple different things that I do to support my energy throughout the day. I have rituals and routines. And I think by having those rituals and routines, and here's the thing, I'm not married to them. I have a menu of rituals and routines that I like to do on a daily basis. Meditation. I have an infrared sauna. I like to do that in the evenings, and I'll take a quick shower before I go to bed. I love journaling. Journaling is such a magical way of getting the energy up and out. Whether you're expressing it or not. A lot of times, and I don't know if anybody has experienced anger throughout this last year. My guess is if you're listening to this and you're alive, you've experienced a little bit of anger this last year because of all the energies that are happening and a lot of things that are going on in this physical realm, in this 3D reality that we live in. Anytime I'm angry, I will scream into a towel. I will literally go and scream into a towel, and then I'll like air out the towel outside. And I will tell you, it's an amazing way to support your energy. But I think just having different tools and ways to support yourself is super, super key. The other thing I do is I set an intention for the day. I always ask the question, who do I want to be today? And I write it in my journal, right? What do I want? I say, who do I want to be today? What do I want to give today? What do I want to experience today? Right? When you ask yourself better questions, the subconscious will naturally give you better answers. We actually have all of the answers within us. Because like I said, there's a lot of different tips and tools and tricks that you can do, but I have a menu of items. It's all about having a menu, and for me, this is just for me, not being necessarily married to like, oh, I'm going to do this every day, at 4:00. So as of right now, I'm getting up at 4:00 in the morning and I'm doing my Joe Dispenza meditations. I was doing that right after I did the Joe Dispenza retreat in July, but I trailed off because life happens. And when that happens, you give yourself some grace, but then you get back on the horse, right? And I think that's why you have to have great people that you're surrounded with, like you, Sydney, like different coaches or mentors and people in your life that are supporting the best version of you. I also have a shielding practice that I've anchored into my being, to where I can literally just like I go whoosh, and I shield my energy, especially if I'm like in a place where there's a lot of people and I'm very empathic, so I can take on a lot of that energy. I will anchor my shield that I've created through repetition, and I'll allow that energy doesn't then penetrate my aura, because I know that my aura is mine, and it's up to me to, again, take radical responsibility to support that. So if I'm traveling, I always travel with sage or Palo Santo. Anytime I'll always like clear out energies in the room. I travel with my red light, incantations, affirmations. So language, I talked a little bit about language, guys. Language matters. When I say like, oh, Katie, you're so stupid, I'll be like, no, Katie, I will literally reinforce that terminology. And I'll say, I used to do this, but I'll say like, oh gosh, Katie, you're so stupid. And I'll say, cancel, clear. And I'll say, I am love. I am courage. I am light. I am spiritual, I am, abundant, I am all of the, like, I'll say all of these things and I'll reinforce that, because what we use in our language manifests our reality, just like intention. So
this is funny. I'm always trying to convince my husband of this. So he is the worst. Sorry, honey, if you're going to listen to this one day. He's the worst with, just saying negative things, like just, not being careful with his words. And I'm always trying to catch him. And so last night we're laying in bed and he's like, we don't have any money, which we have money, but it's just like a typical guy thing, like, oh my God, we need more money. I need to make more money, blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm just like, you've got to change the verbiage, honey. And I just like laid into him, like, I'm so tired of telling you this over and over and over again. You've got to change what you're saying. You've got to say, I am a magnet for money. I am, money runs to me like water, right? Like,
yeah, flows to me effortlessly, flows to me in abundance, even more abundance than I thought possible.
Exactly. And I'm like, repeat after me, say this. And he's like, but I sound so stupid saying it because I don't believe it. And I'm like, you don't understand. That's the point.
Yeah. Right.
That's the point. And so it takes practice. It takes, I'm not going to get into like affirmations and how they work right here, but basically you've got words matter. What you are putting out into the world. If you're saying we ain't got no money, you ain't going to have no money, because that's what you're telling the universe exists. So therefore it's going to give you back what you put out. And it's just that's the law of attraction, you guys. Like it sounds crazy to us 3D reality people, but trust us, it works. And so even when he woke up today, he was like totally like changing his way of talking. So it was actually really funny. He was like, it's such a beautiful day today. I'm so grateful for everything we have. And I was like, that's right, honey.
Yes, yeah, right. So there's a really good book. And I actually did a webinar, it was a couple months ago on conscious language. It's a book, and I will tell you, if you're interested, if you're curious and you're interested, it is an incredible book. It's an incredible read. But it really gives you an understanding of like how we came about language. And like, for instance, this is just kind of a crazy thing. I do not say good morning anymore, because if you actually knew the meaning of good morning, so morning, think about it. When you're in mourning, right? You're in mourning. People like, this is crazy, but, and I'm happy to send you the link that shows all of this. The largest, like, Monday mornings are when the greatest amount of deaths occur, and is like on the way to the work, right? So the root word of mourning, right, is in mourning. Like when we're in mourning, we're mourning something, right? And by saying good morning, it's like we're promoting death, right? Good morning is like death, right? Good is like we're promoting, right? We're promoting death. It is the craziest thing. Also, even saying hello, right? Well, what's hell? It's hell. Hello is hell. Oh, right. What is the meaning of hell? Right? Oh, hell. So I actually don't say hello anymore. I've been really conscious of like not using certain terms. And again, I super geek out on this, so I don't want to like freak people out. I don't want to freak your listeners out, but I'm telling you, if you actually start to like think about what are the words and the phrases that you use. The other thing is too, like if there's one thing that you could take from this around language, when we say that I want something, we are communicating to the universe that we don't have it, and we're communicating lack.
Right. Yes.
So a way to change that is like, if I, choose, or I won't even say the word. I want, you say, I choose, right? I choose. And it changes the whole vibration of that energy. And I have so many different language hacks and all that kind of stuff. And again, we could be here for hours talking about it. And if you're interested, like definitely like look up Conscious Language. It's a great book. There's many different like language, books out there and education that you can find. I've done a bunch of videos on it as well. So I'm happy to share those links for your listeners. So
cool. I
Be
do.
mindful of your language.
Absolutely. I do want to go back to when I asked how you protect your energy. I think what I was really going for was like, do you do a daily, you said you do a shield every day, and I do
Yeah.
one similar. And I just want to know if you were going to tell someone how, in simple terms, how they can do it for themselves each morning just to protect their energy, to not take on other people's energy that's going to come at you all day, right?
Yeah. So so first off, I would say set an intention. And there is a shielding practice, but again, I think it would take too long. I have a recording I can send you. I can put a link to it on your show notes if you want, that people can access this shielding technique, because really what it is you're anchoring in an intention. So if like that's one way, right? Anchoring in an intention through a shielding practice, which I've already done, which it's like, I have a recording, it's like 15 minutes long, that you can go through. And it's like anything else. Anything that you do, you've got to build the muscle for it. So it's repetition. So when we like, repetition is another form of anchoring something into your existence. So the more you do it, the more you anchor it in. So setting an intention, like every day, set an intention. I show up with, all the divine greatness within myself, and block any lower level energies that do not serve me. And I do that now. You can literally snap your fingers and that can be a shield, right? But as long as you're doing that and you're thinking these thoughts. So when you're thinking these thoughts, you're visualizing, like visualization is such an amazing practice, visualizing a protective like shield. So I have like a cape. Like when I shield myself, I like envision myself with a cape, with like this protective, like sparkly layer of like plexiglass essentially, but it's prettier than plexiglass. I'll just put it that way. But it bounces that energy. And then I say, for all the energy that serves me, continue to build and grow that energy throughout the day. As more of life comes to me, I continue to embrace and rise above with higher energy. And I set that intention out of the gate. But you guys, because I set that intention out loud, out of the gate to myself in the morning every day, I've been able to anchor that shield in throughout the day. So I have that ability. If you're just getting started out with this, I would say grab some Palo Santo. Palo Santo is an incredible way of protecting your energy and moving negative energy out of you. I also use essential oils. Essential oils is a great way to do that as well. And it's all starts with an intention though. So if you want to set an intention that you want to have a higher, energy and protect your energy, set that energy out front, set out that intention out of the gate, and then continue to practice it. Right. Only, this or something better. I always say that, like when something happens and it's maybe unexpected, I'll say this or something better. I'll be like, oh, well, that's interesting. This or something better will then move me forward. So to answer your question, set an intention. That was kind of all over the place, but set an intention, grab some Palo Santo, allow that energy to move through you, because sage and Palo Santo or essential oils are also great ways to activate new centers in our brain, right? New centers in our being that support different and higher energetic states. And when you do that with natural things, as opposed to, soy artificially scented candles, you'll notice a massive difference.
Yes, I agree. Yes, it does. And I would say just for anyone who's looking for a way to put up a shield, you could just make it your own, right? So I have my own way of doing it. She mentioned set the intention. I think that's really key. Set the intention, say it out loud, and visualize what you're doing. So like my visualization is this like egg shape, probably plexiglass. That was a good way to explain it, but it's like an egg shape. I say 3 to 6 feet around my entire body, my aura. And I zip it up. I take my hand down to the bottom, the floor, as if I'm grabbing a zipper, and I zip it all the way up to the top, and I throw away the key. And I say something like, mirrors facing in, mirrors facing out, anything that's not mine, sent to the central sun with consciousness attached, blah, blah, blah. The whole spiel. But it's my spiel, and you'll have your own, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you envision, just this protection bubble around you. And, That's really it. It's really,
Yeah.
I think we complicate it. We think like, oh, I want to know the exact thing I'm supposed to say. You say whatever the heck you want to say. You envision it, and that's the power.
And this is the key to it, because here's the thing: nothing means anything until it's the meaning that we give it.
Right.
So whatever meaning you want to give it, that's for you. But I love that. The zipper method is amazing. I had created this shield of many, many years ago, and it's just stuck with me because of repetition. So,
you said you just whip it up. You're like,
yeah, I'm like, now I got it. Boom. And it's amazing because when we anchor in these states, they last, but it's just putting in the work and doing it, right? Repetition is the mother of skill.
Absolutely. All right, Katie. Well, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your gems of knowledge to.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
It was fun. And I'm going to put, let's see, I was sort of highlighting what I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to put links to Aura Ring, red light therapy, LMNT, which is the electrolytes, a link to your shielding technique recording that you said you had. And
I'll also give you a link for my Q link if anybody wants it. It's a great, I don't know if you saw it. It's a wonderful centerpiece with a resonance technology that, when like you're in nature and you just feel like grounded, right? Or you hug a tree and you just feel grounded. There's this company called Q Link that has put out these really, well, I'll be honest, they were not that pretty up until they started meeting with some jewelry designers. But I wear this Q Link, and I will tell you, it carries a frequency that neutralizes the negative ions that are in our environment, that really supports like up leveling your energy. So I'll give you that as well.
Okay, awesome. And like we said before, Katie is a life coach. She's a master human design person. She incorporates that with an energy assessment. So I'm going to put probably your link tree, right? Your link tree.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Web address, and that will have links to every single thing that she does. So I've looked at it. It's a plethora of different things. So if any of it floats your boat, then you just click on the link in the link tree link and reach out to Katie and set something up. So is there anything else you'd like to share about how to best get in touch with you? I'll also put your social media links in the show notes, but anything else you'd like to say that you do, or that how, or?
Yeah, no, I love working with energy. I love working with others and supporting their energy. I love with human design and leveraging masculine and feminine energies. And I actually didn't talk about this. I love doing breath work. Breath work is something I'm going to be really focusing a lot more on as I'm moving, through my practice and working with groups and other individuals. So super energized about that. You can find me at highenergykc.com or on social media, Katie Carlson. There's lots of Katie Carlsons out there, but you'll be able to find me. Or on Instagram, I am Katie Carlson. So look forward to it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And I will catch you guys on the next episode.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of My Inner Tiger. Before you go, I have a free gift to offer you. If you're anything like me and struggle with overwhelming feelings of stress and anxiety on a regular basis, I invite you to download my Freedom in 5 formula, where you'll discover how to change your state in less than 5 minutes. This is my beautiful gift to you and costs $0. So head on over to myinnertiger.com/freedom to download this now. Also, if you loved what you heard today, please rate and review this podcast on iTunes so I can keep the ball rolling. And finally, if you're not already, come follow me on Instagram at myinnertiger for more juicy goodness and fun inspiration. I can't wait to connect with you there. Now, my dear friend, go out into this world and create some magic. I'll catch you on the next episode.